Bohr's theory for hydrogen atom discussion. We have already discussed about the various quantum numbers, that is n indicates principal quantum number, L indicates azimuthal quantum number, and M indicates magnetic quantum number, H indicates your spin quantum number, and how to find out the value of N, L, M, S quantum values, and if L equal to 0, what would be the subshell, and if L equal to 1, then the subshell becomes P. If L equal to 2, then the subshell is D. If L equal to 3, then we call as a F subshell. And then the value of L gives from 0 to n minus 1, and the value of M, that is magnetic quantum number value, is from minus L to plus L including 0. And for the S, we have clockwise direction and anti-clockwise direction. Clockwise direction is represented by S half positive, and anti-clockwise direction is represented by S minus half, which we have done up to that. After that, we try to find out Bohr's radius by using the formula Rn equal to n square a naught. From that, n indicates that the shell. So if for the hydrogen atom shell is only 1, so R1 equal to 1 square into a naught, that is a naught value we have taken as a 52.9 picometer. So Bohr's hydrogen atom radius is of 52.9 picometer. This is what we have done. After then, by using this, we have tried to find out the energies of different cells by using the formula En equal to minus R is 1 by n square. And here, if n equal to 1, then it means the energy of the first orbital, that is hydrogen atom, is of minus 2.18 into 10 power 18. This is what we got. And after then, if it is of n2, then you need to find out E2. E2 means minus 2.18 into 10 power minus 18 joules, then 1 by 2 square, divided by 1 by 2 square. Then you will get it minus 0.545 into 10 power minus 18 joules. Like this one, you can find out E3, E4, all that we have discussed. Now, for today, we will go to the page number 44 of your textbooks. Now, in the page number 44, let us see the green part. Why does negative electronic energy for hydrogen atom meant? So you can see that one. The energy of an electron in a hydrogen atom has a negative sign for all possible orbits. This negative sign means that the energy of the electron in the atom is lower than the energy of the free electron at rest. So this negative symbol indicates that energy of electron in an atom, means in a hydrogen atom, is always lower than the energy of the free electron at rest. A free electron at rest is an electron that is infinity far away from the nucleus and is assigned the energy value as 0. That means if the electron lies in the free state, then it is very far from the nucleus, and thereby in such cases the energy is assumed as a 0 value. So that means E of infinity is equal to 0. You need to take it. As the electron get closer to the nucleus, then the value of En become larger in absolute value and more negative. The most negative energies value is given by n equal to 1. So that is in the most stable state, that is in the ground state, the energies of the hydrogen atom have negative value. That is what we have seen here. So when the electron become free, that means I have already told that when the electron become free, then the influence of the nucleus, that means the binding force, that is what is very less, and during this case we have taken zero energy. That means the electron possesses zero energy. The electron in this situation associated with the stationary state, that is principal quantum number n tends to infinity, is called as a ionized hydrogen atom. That means the energy in which n tends to infinity, that we call as a ionized hydrogen atom, for the hydrogen atom. That means the hydrogen atom become completely ionized when the stationary state tends to infinity. When the electron is attracted by the nucleus, then during this case the electron is present in the orbit n, then the energy is emitted and its energy is lower. So when the electron is near the nucleus, then the electron possesses lower energy, thereby they become stable. So this point you recall it. After then, let us see some more about this conclusion of your Bohr's theory can also be applied to the ions containing only one electron. So not only the atom, so Bohr's theory can apply for the species which have only one electron. So such as helium. Helium have two electrons. If you remove one electron, then you get He plus. So He plus will have only one electron. In this case also, you can apply Bohr's theory. Same like hydrogen. Same thing like this in case of lithium. Lithium have three electrons. If you remove two electrons, only one electron remains. That is what? Li2 plus. So in case of Li2 plus also, you can apply this Bohr's theory. So like this, it can apply not only the hydrogen but other species also having one electron each. The energy of the stationary state associated with these kinds of ions, that is hydrogen-like species, can be expressed as, so if the species have one electron but it is not hydrogen, then for that also you can find out energy, you can find out radius by using the formula En equal to minus 2.18 into 10 power minus 18 into Z square divided by N square. So N is the shell. N is the shell where electron lies. Z is the atomic number of the elements. Z is the atomic number of the elements. So like this one, energy of various cell you can find out, although if it is not hydrogen. So you can also find out the radius of different hydrogen-like species by using the formula Rn equal to 52.9 into N square divided by Z picometer. So like this one, you can find out various radius or your energy of various species in a particular cell. And in the last point, it is possible to calculate the velocities of electrons moving in this orbit. So you can find out the velocity. Although the precise quantum is not given here, quantitatively the magnitude of velocity of electron increases with increase in the positive charge on the nucleus and decrease with the increase of quantum number, principal quantum number. So the velocity you can calculate it, but you will not get exactly. Instead of that, you may get a relation. What is the relation? Is that the magnitude of velocity means the amount of velocity will be increased with increase in the positive charge on the nucleus. So we can compare the velocities of the electron present in He plus, Li2 plus, Be3 plus. So here is Be3 plus means the plus charge is increased here. So thereby the velocity of electrons in the Be3 plus is more than Li2 plus, which is more than He plus. Like this one you need to understand it. And not only that, it also means velocity also decrease with increasing principal quantum number. So if the electron lies in the first orbital or if the electron lies in the second orbital, if you compare the velocity, then the velocity of the second orbital will be lower than with as compared to the velocity of the electrons in the first orbital. So these are the conclusions. Now let us see about the explanation of line spectrum. So before going to that, let us see here in the this chart. Niels Bohr in 1913, this is the revision of that one. Niels Bohr in 1913 proposed a new model of atom on the basis of Planck quantum theory. The main point of this model are as follows. Number one, in an atom, electron revolve around the nucleus in a certain definite circular path. That's what we call as a orbit. In the second point, each orbit is associated with definite energy, and therefore these are known as energy level or energy cell, and they are number as 1, 2, 3, 4 or K, L, M, N. And in the third point, only those energy orbits are permitted for the electron in which angular momentum of an electron is the whole number ratios of is by 2 pi. So as we have already discussed, angular momentum is equal to MeVr, which is equal to n is by 2 pi, where n is the your cell, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, and m is the mass of electron, v is the tangent velocity of the revolving electrons, r is the radius of the orbit, s is the Planck constant, and n is the integer here. As long as electrons is present in a particular orbit, it neither absorb nor lose energy. That means the energy remains constant. And in the fifth point, when energy is supplied to an electron, it absorbs energy only a fixed amount of quanta and jump to the higher energy state away from the nucleus, known as a excited state. The excited state is unstable and the electron may jump back to the lower energy state, and in doing so it emits some amount of energy. So the energy difference delta E equal to E2 minus E1. Now let us see about the advantage of Bohr's theory, or we can say achievement of Bohr's theory. Bohr's theory has explained the stability of an atom. And second point, Bohr's theory has helped in calculating the energy of the electrons in hydrogen atom or one electron species. And mathematically expression for the energy of nth orbital is En equal to minus 2 pi square m e to the power 4 z square divided by n square r square. Here let us see what are the value. Me indicates that mass of the electron, E indicates that charge of the electron, R indicates that Rydberg constant. That means R indicates Rydberg constant, and your Z indicates that atomic number. The value comes out to be En equal to minus 2.178 into 10 power minus 18 into Z square divided by N square joules per atom. So if your Z is 1, then for the hydrogen atom we have En equal to minus 2.178 into 10 power 18 divided by N square. So this one, if you want to convert into kilojoules per molecules, then the value you will get it is minus 1312 divided by n square. So these two formula you need to understand it. That is En equal to minus 2.178 into 10 power minus 18 divided by n square joules per atom, and this may be equal to minus 1312 divided by n square kilojoules per mole. In the third advantage, that is Bohr's theory can explain the atomic spectra of hydrogen atom. These are the advantages of Bohr's theory of an atom. Now we'll go to the limitations of Bohr's model. Bohr's model cannot explain the atomic spectra of the atoms containing more than one electron or multi-electron atoms. And Bohr's theory failed to explain. This Bohr's theory cannot explain the fine structures of these spectral lines. And again, in the point number 3, Bohr's theory cannot offer any satisfactory explanation about the Zeeman effect and Stark effect. So let us see what you mean by Zeeman effect and what you mean by Stark effect. So for that you can write it. The splitting of spectral lines, in presence of magnetic field, is called as Zeeman's effect. Z-E-E-M-A-N, Zeeman effect. Whereas the splitting of spectral lines in presence of electrical field, the splitting of spectral lines in presence of electrical field is called as Stark effect. S-T-A-R-K, Stark effect. So you need to understand what you mean by Zeeman's effect and what you mean by Stark effect. Now Bohr's theory failed to explain the ability of atoms to form molecule formed by the chemical bond. Again, it was not in accordance with the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So these are the defects of your Bohr's model of an atom, which is on page number 46. Now we will go to the towards quantum mechanical model of an atom. This one we need to go it. In order to solve the shortcoming of your Bohr's model, a new development of model of an atom start. For that we need to contribute to important development, such as number 1, dual behavior of matter, and second one, Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So this dual behavior of matter was first explained by de Broglie. That is D-E-B-R-O-G-L-I-E. De Broglie is the scientist who studied about this dual behavior of matter. And according to de Broglie, in the year 1924, he proposed that matter-like radiations should exhibit dual behavior, that is particle as well as wave-like properties. This means that like photons, electrons are also have momentum as well as wavelength. So from this analogy, de Broglie gave the following relations between the wavelength and your momentum of a moving particle, such as lambda equal to is by mv. Lambda is equal to is by mv. So mv means we have momentum p. So we can say that lambda equal to is by mp. Lambda equal to is by mp. So here is the equation. Lambda is equal to is by mv. This is equal to is by p, where m is the mass of the particle, b is the velocity of the particle, p is the momentum of the particle. And this relationship has been verified by an experiment. So this is what about the de Broglie equations. This equation we call as a de Broglie equation, and this de Broglie equation you need to understand it properly, as it will be used for the calculation. Now let us see in the problem 2.12 of your page number 46. What will be the wavelength of the ball of mass 0.1 kg moving with a velocity of 10 meter per second? So you need to find out lambda. Lambda is equal to is by mv is the equation. Here m equal to 0.1 kg and v equal to 10 meter per second. So i's value should be 6.626 into 10 power minus 34 joule per second, which we call as a Planck constant. So substituting this and divide it, then you may get 6.626 into 10 power minus 34 meter. So wavelength is 6.626 into 10 power minus 34 meter. Like these calculations, you need to be understand it. So something like this in the problem 2.13, the mass of an electron is 9.1 into 10 power minus 31 kg. This is the mass. And kinetic energy is 3 into 10 power minus 25 joules. So this is the kinetic energy. Calculate its wavelength. As we know that kinetic energy Ke equal to half mv square. So to find out v, you need to take square root of 2 kinetic energy divided by m. So from this one we get it by rearranging kinetic energy equal to half mv square. So if you rearrange that means 2 times of kinetic energy equal to, you will get it mv square. So v equal to 2 times of kinetic energy divided by m, this one square root. So taking the square root of this kinetic energy into 2, you will get it 812 meter per second. 812 meter per second.